Hey, everybody, welcome to a Monday Motivation podcast for Monday, January 22nd, 2018. I almost forgot what the date was. So, this week we are going to talk about a little bit of something that Tim Ferriss talks about in the 4 Hour Work Week. One thing that I do is I pull out old books. Whenever I'm done reading a book, before I start a new one, I will pull out some old books that I've read that I've highlighted and underlined, and I'll just flip open to a random chapter and kind of go over some of the stuff that I learned years ago or months ago or whatever it might be. And that's why I always read with a highlighter or a pen or whatever, because it just makes going back through the book so much easier when you've really already picked out the most important parts. So this in this section of the book, it's close to the beginning of the 4 Hour Work Week. Tim Ferriss talks about the fact that committing yourself to doing the unrealistic is better and easier than doing the realistic. And when you first hear that, you're like, wait a second, how can that possibly be true, right? But he provides some really good evidence to back this up. And he gives a couple of reasons that I think are awesome and relate very, very well to practicing jazz, because as we all know, reaching the upper echelons of jazz improvisers, unless you don't have a job or a family or anything like that, and you can commit, 10 to 12 hours a day to doing it, is what you might call unrealistic, right? If it's not your life, it may not be in the cards to, be one of the top 10 jazz musicians in the world. But this is really interesting about mindset. So even if that is the case, it may be better to set your goal to be one of the top 10 jazz musicians in the world. And you might just surprise yourself. So here's a couple of quotes from the book. So it says it's lonely at the top. 99% of people in the world are convinced that they are incapable of achieving great things, so they aim for mediocre. And then he goes on to say that the level of mediocrity in any field is so crowded that it's almost impossible to stand out if your plan is just to get to a moderate level of understanding or success. So by doing that, you're actually making it much harder on yourself to get noticed or get the gig or get hired by a band or simply just be somebody that other people want to talk about when they hear you play. So there's the first point. Unreasonable and unrealistic goals are easier to achieve for yet another reason. Having an unusually large goal is an adrenaline infusion that provides the endurance to overcome the inevitable trials and tribulations that go along with any goal. Realistic goals restricted to the average ambition level, are uninspiring and will only fuel you through the first or second problem, at which point you throw in the towel. Now, this is one of the most true things that I've ever heard in my entire life, right? If you are not prepared to go through the difficulties that are going to show themselves to you almost immediately when it comes to studying a musical instrument and it comes to studying something as difficult as jazz, you are going to give up. You are definitely going to give up. But if you set your sights on, okay, you know what, I'm going to be able to play over any tune in any key, and you are honest with yourself and you realize just how much work and time that's going to take, whether that work is spread out over 1 year or 10 years, you're going to do that work and you're going to find yourself on the other side eventually. Right? It may not be overnight, it may not be this year, but you are going to find it if you commit yourself to that. If you halfway commit yourself to it, as soon as the first difficult things pops up that, takes all of your brain power to complete, you're going to give up. You're going to say, this is not for me. I can't even reach the mediocre level of understanding this, so why do it at all? And I've seen a lot of musicians get to that point. And instead of just kind of being humble and realizing that, yeah, you suck right now, but you're going to be great if you commit all of your resources and mental faculties to getting this done, you will get it done. I can almost guarantee that. And then the final thing I wanted to read from this little section is that He says, the fishing is best where the fewest go, and the collective insecurity of the world makes it easy for people to hit home runs while everyone else is aiming for base hits. There's just less competition for bigger goals. Doing big things begins with asking for them properly. Now, that's also very true to me. We may be trying to hit base hits because they're easier and they're safe, right? Whereas swinging for the fences, you may strike out a whole bunch of times, or you might just hit it 500 feet and win the game for your team. So I know some of these are cheesy analogies, but just go with me here. I think that is very, very true. I think so many people are just aiming for middle of the road, and they just don't commit themselves to doing whatever it takes to get to that highest level. Now, again, your aspirations may not be to get to that highest level. That might not be what makes you happy. But if you can commit to a mindset of, I am going to be able to play like Michael Brecker, I am going to be able to play like Miles Davis, then mentally you're setting yourself up to at least get closer to that goal, at least get a little bit further down the road than you would if you're thinking to yourself, hey, I just want to kind of have fun with this and take it to the point where it's not too hard and I can enjoy myself, that kind of thing. Now, that might be your end goal, but I want you to change your mindset to something a little bit more rigorous, and you will find yourself in that really, really fun spot where you can enjoy yourself a lot quicker. All right. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. That was just something that kind of I happened upon while I was going back over the book, and just struck me as something that I could relate to music that might help a person or two out there. Okay? All right, so get on the instrument this week, start practicing, doing everything you possibly can to get better, and we'll see you on Friday with another regular episode. Have a great week, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye.